to Atheon Analytics tutorials. In this video we're going to be looking at how to use reports in Omniscope. So we're starting here with our familiar table of data, and we can start to create a report simply by adding more views to the screen or changing the view that we can see. So here I'm going to change my table to a bar chart, and perhaps now I'm going to also add a view, so I'm going to put a pie chart on here using the add view button at the top of the screen. And perhaps I'd also now like to add a pivot table. So here I've created my report or dashboard, if you like, of a number of different views, and it may be at any time in Omniscope as you're analysing data you wish to take a snapshot of the views that you've created and save a report. So in order to do that, up at the tab at the top of the page, I'm going to use the drop down menu and click on commit changes, and that's essentially going to bookmark what we've done so far on this report. So at the moment I don't want to change this report, I want to leave it as it is and go on and create a new report. So using the plus sign next to my reports tab, I'm going to create a new tab. In this case it's just given it the name tab 5, and from here I can create a completely different report. So perhaps now I want a pie chart up in the top left, maybe I want a table view, and perhaps a dial view down in the bottom left. So again, having created a new report here, perhaps I want to save the changes I've made. So firstly I'm going to commit the changes I've made, and also I'm going to give the tab a new name rather than calling it simply tab 5. Let's rename it and perhaps call this my dashboard. So whenever we find something of interest in Omniscope, we can take a snapshot of data and move on and create more views as we go through. But if at any point we want to go back to our reports, it's important to of course remember that these are dynamic reports. So back into the report we created a moment ago, perhaps now we only want to look at a smaller set of weeks, so using my filter over here on the right hand side, and perhaps now just certain subcategories of data. So when we go back into a report we can manipulate it by clicking on the filters on the right hand side and changing the subset of data. We can also keep adding views back in, so perhaps I want to add a view to this and add a dial view, and I can use the report as a basis for starting my analysis. If however at any point I decide in this report that I want to simply reset it to how it was when I first opened it up, going back into the report tab and the drop down menu up at the top of the screen, I can click on revert changes, and by reverting it'll just reset the report to how it was when I first opened it up. So we can use them to investigate data further, or we can reset them if we wish to. Sometimes we want to create different styles of reports as well. So in this case we've added a number of views to the screen. In fact we're going to add one more. Let's add a table in as well, and we can see each time we do this it looks and feels very much like an Omniscope front page. We can see all the view tools bars, for example, across the tops of each view. But if we want to, we can create more of a dashboard look and feel to this, and there's a number of things we can do to achieve that. So firstly, using the style button up at the top of the screen, I'm going to change this from my analysis preset to my paper report. And we can see when we do that it looks and feels slightly different. It's taken our main toolbar across the top of the screen, and also it's taken the various toolbars off each view. So it's starting to look more and more like a dashboard. If we want to, we can add a title to this report. So hovering back up at the top and going into style again, I can put a title. And we can also annotate the report, which allows us to write some annotation down at the bottom of the screen. This can be especially useful when we're sending reports to other people in our organisation. We can also put specific view titles on each one of the views. So although we've lost the toolbar on each view now because we've got this dashboard style, but simply by hovering the mouse over each view we can see the little icon, the tools icon appears in the top right of the screen of the view, And if we click on that tools icon, it brings all the tools back for that particular view. So in this case, using the tools menu, I'm going to add a view header. And I'm going to make this bar chart slightly bigger. So we can give individual titles to our views, and this of course can make our reports less ambiguous to the end user, much more user friendly. The last thing that we can do here is we can also change the amount of filters that are visible over on the right hand side. In some sets of data with lots of columns, we're going to have loads of filters over on the right, and we might want to make this a much more user friendly experience. So by hovering the mouse at the top of the filters and bringing into play our devices, we can start to select or deselect various filters. Here I'm going to take them all off, and I'm going to add back in my week number, my subcategory and my pack type. So you can see now we only have 3 different filters for the user to use and to interact with. So it's very, very simple for the end user now just to use the filters they may need. So in this case, week numbers and the subcategory filter. So still a very, very interactive report for the end user. We've got a title, we've got some annotation, we've got view titles, all of which are making it less ambiguous and being very clear on what the report's showing. But the user experience is very, very simple now. We've got a very clean dashboard with a simple set of filters on the right hand side. The last thing we might want to do to our report is to brand it in some way. So here, for example, using the tools menu on the bar chart, I'm going to add a background image. So here we've put the Atheon company logo behind the back of the bar chart, and we can also do a similar thing by adding images to the top of our screen. So again, we put the logo up here. So a number of options again whereby we can make this look and feel very much like a branded report. If we want to output our reports as static images into PowerPoint, we can either copy and paste them, or by using the file menu and print as PowerPoint, it will bring up a wizard which will allow us to put one or all of our reports straight into PowerPoint. So here's an example of a report showing a number of different views on the screen, sort of KPI dashboard. Again, over on the right hand side, we've kept the filters very, very simple for the end user to be able to interrogate the data. And here's an example of a report where we've actually hidden all the filters, and they will only appear when the user hovers the mouse over on the right hand side. But again, they work in exactly the same way. All of these more advanced techniques are taught on the Atheon Analytics Introduction to Omniscope course. For more information about that, please contact us on info@atheon.com or give us a call on 08444 145 501.